What's up, guys? It's Matt, and welcome back to the NFL, dude. I know a lot of you guys have been leaving me comments below, like, yo, when are you gonna, like talking about your favorite team and, like, how I'm ranking them bad, and I told you guys I would have a video right before the NFL season started, actually, like, a day before the Hall of Fame game, so it's almost perfect. But, without further ado, I'm gonna give out my predictions for each team. You know how this works. I'm gonna go division by division, and I ordered the divisions from, like, least exciting to most exciting, you know, like how people would see how kind of the offseason has gone and how, you know, most people are excited about other divisions than others. So, here we go. Let's start. So, first, I got the NFC South with the Panthers. I have the conference seed here. I got their record prediction, and I got the division they're in. All right, starting with the South. Panthers, 4-13. Unfortunately for Panthers fans, it's going to be another down year. But hey, at least you double your record. You brought in Deontay Johnson, not too shabby, but they still need a lot of work. I think their schedule is a lot more favorable, so they'll get some more games here. When your team finishes last, you just don't go back to back. That just doesn't happen as like the number one draft pick. So I got the Panthers going 4-13, doubling the record. And hopefully, yeah, they can just have a better record than last year. You really can't get any worse. All right, next we got the New Orleans Saints, 8-9, third in their division. I feel like they're just painfully average, and they're probably the most, I'd say, nothing happened in the offseason for these guys. They're most irrelevant team of the season. You don't hear anything happening. I know a lot of people have said on YouTube, and I tend to agree, that they're kind of holding on to a bunch of players and cap space that they don't need, like Cameron Jordan, Alvin Kamara, Lattimore. How many years do these guys got left in their prime? They're past their prime in a lot, in everyone's opinion. What do we keep? What are we doing? They're just holding on to people. They're going to be good. They're going to get a bunch of wins. NFC South has a very easy schedule. So they're going to contend. I just don't think they will rise. They'll rise above the rest of the teams in the South. So I got the Saints at 8-9. All right. Second place in the NFC South, we got the Bucks at 8-9. It's kind of time with the Saints, but they do have the tiebreaker. And they squeeze in the playoffs at 8-9 in the NFC. I mean, that's, to me, this is, it sounds a lot like what the NFC what would happen in the NFC. Baker Mayfield showed he can definitely be a playoff contender. I think the NFC has just gotten a little better for the Bucks. Mike Evans, he's going to be amazing, 1,000-yard season again. But how many years do they got left? Does Mike Evans have left? There's a lot of questions with the defense as well. I think they'll be good enough to make the playoffs. I think their run is going to end pretty early, though. Unless they get the Cowboys in the playoffs. Hey, man, 7 seed again. But yeah, I think the Bucks are just. I think there's a new contender in the NFC South, and their name is the Atlanta Falcons. What a great offseason for these guys to obtain Kirk Cousins. I don't know what they were doing in the draft with Michael Penix, but this is just a good team, man. Arthur Smith kind of ruined it, and then, he didn't play most of these players. I think this team has a lot of talent. Arthur Smith just didn't utilize them to their best ability. Whoever their head coach is, they just have it all. They got their quarterback. It's not Desmond Ridder. They're going to use Kyle Pitts. They're going to use Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and I think this team has what it takes to win the division. So I got them at 9-8, and hopefully you Falcon fans can enjoy a division win in the longest time, 7 years, I think. And that's my NFC South. All right, moving on to the NFC West, we have the Cardinals, and as you guys can see, I got some surprises. I got some surprises with these predictions. This is one of them, but I have more. Don't worry. So we got the Cardinals coming at 7-10. I think the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to work wonders, especially because they were within every game last season. Even though people thought they were going to be the worst team ever, they competed with the best teams. They compete with every team, like every week, besides like 2 games. And they didn't have Kyler Murray most of the time. When they got Kyler Murray, they started winning those close games. So, like, there's just so much upside to this offense now that Kyler Murray is going to be back. He might be, like, a huge essential for this team, especially to go in 7-10 and have this crazy run. So, I really hope they do. This is a team I am very excited to watch next season. So, other than my favorite team, of course. Like, yeah, I'll definitely be watching these games for Marvin Harrison Jr. and seeing what Kyler Murray can do with him. I can't wait, and I think he'll be a reason they win some games, and so will Kyler Murray. And obviously, they still got James Conner. They still got. Oh, did Budda Baker go somewhere? I think he did, but they still got a very competent team. So, sky's the limit for these guys. I'm very excited to watch this team. Next up, we got Seattle Seahawks at 8-9. I think Geno Smith is getting a little past his prime. I don't think he really has had a prime. You have a really good offense. You're going to win a lot of games. NFC West, especially with the Seahawks. Seahawks have a fairly tough schedule. I think that the addition of a bunch of NFC teams is just going to make them painfully average for the NFC. Of course, you got the Rams and 49ers that are going to be in their way. So, with that, we got the Seahawks at 8-9. Not too shabby. Real quick, I wanted to add, I don't think, other than Tariq Woolen and maybe Quandre Diggs, I think their defense is pretty suspect. I don't know. I think they can contend with the Rams in this division. I'm probably underestimating this team. I already know, but I just don't see a lot happening with that defense, and the offense is only as good as Geno Smith is. So, gonna move on here. All right, next up we got the LA Rams coming in with the 6th seed at 9-8. I just think they're just a good team, dude. They got wide receivers. They got the offense for sure. They got Matthew Stafford. The injury bug should not be a problem as long as Matthew Stafford stays okay. They should be around this range of, like, not competing with the top of the division, obviously, because you know who's ahead of them. But obviously in this, like, 5, 6, 7 range, definitely a playoff team. But that defense is nothing to trust. I don't trust it. Do you trust this Rams defense? To be honest, like, even as a casual football watcher, I can't even name a single person on that Rams defense. So, Kobe Durant? Is that one of them? I know he's somewhere, but other than that, like, I don't know, man. So, yeah, this is the first I can have the Rams is the 6th seed. Can't put them much higher. And, of course, that leaves us with the number 1 seed in the conference, in the division, 14-3, 49ers. They also got the cover Madden athlete, so Christian McCaffrey. What doesn't this team have? They got, Brock Purdy's good. He's proven to be a good quarterback. You just name anybody. Nick Bosa, Chardavius Ward, Fred Warner, Trent Williams. They got everybody. Brandon Ayuk, I know he's holding out, but he's playing there. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. Like, come on now. Hufanga. They got the most complete roster. They got the roster that everyone could name like 10 players on. Like, they're going to be good, whether you like it or not. And they should be 14-3. Now, the one concern on this team is the injury bug. If any of these people get injured, that's big trouble. So, but they have a lot of depth. As long as their stars stay healthy, they should be 14-3. They should be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And there's nothing else to say about the NFC West here. So, moving on. All right, next division, we got the NFC East, starting with the Giants, who I have at 16th, dead last in the conference, and might have the number 1 pick this year. We'll see. But 2-15. Now, Daniel Jones got paid. I think that was probably the worst quarterback signing of the season. When that happened, was that like a few years ago? He gets injured the next year after they went like 9-7-1, made the playoffs, beat the Vikings. They pay Daniel Jones. They come in. He gets injured. They start sucking again. They lose like 40-0 the Cowboys week 1. And now they're like, oh shit, maybe we underestimated how bad the Giants actually are. How many wins did they finish with last season? Like 6 or 7. And I'm like, okay, well, Daniel Jones is coming back, so give me like 1 less win, so 6. Okay, Saquon Barkley left, so give me 4 wins for them. Oh, Darren Waller retired? Okay. Well, you got Malik Neighbors, but we don't know how much that's going to be anything without an actual quarterback. Yeah, this team could possibly go 0-17. Like, if I was a Giants fan, I would really have nothing to look forward to, unless Malik Neighbors could be like Jesus Christ himself. Yeah, you're going 2-15, maybe even worse, and that's scary, man. But following closely behind, you got the 5-12 Commanders. This team started pretty hot last season. They started like 2-0, and then that fell off the tracks, and they ended 4-13. They just got a new quarterback. Obviously that's going to be growing pains. So, and you really have nobody other than Terry McLaurin. Maybe Jahan Dotson could have a breakout year. But, I mean, Jonathan Allen, always going to do something with your defense. But that's about it. You got rid of Chase Young, in the offseason last year. Not in the offseason, in the middle of the season last year. So, yeah, there's just nothing really to... Well, there's a lot to be happy about, your organization's going forward, but it's not going to translate to any wins, at least this year. Give us some time, but 5-12 with Jay Daniels is what I'm going to give the Commanders here. All right, coming up with the Cowboys with the 2nd seed in the NFC East, 5th seed overall. This team's always going to be in the playoffs, no matter how bad they are in the playoffs, no matter how many times they blow teams out. I don't know why. Shout out to Colin Cowherd for having the Commanders above the Cowboys. I think that's just an ego pick that the team is just doing nothing in the offseason, like doing absolutely nothing to improve their team ever. They just think they can win with the same team. But let's not be that stupid and egotistical to have the Commanders over this team, okay? They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to suck every year. They're probably not going to make the big game, but they're going to make the playoffs. They got a good enough team in the NFC to do it every year. And that's just the cycle of misery for Cowboys fans, you're going to be good enough to be a good team, but you're not going to be great. And that's what I got the Cowboys at, 11-6. And like I said, again, there's never been like a repeat NFC East champion for like 20 years. And I think that's going to repeat or keep going with the Eagles at the 1 seed, 13-4. I think they'll pick off. They won't collapse like last year. Yes, they lost Jason Kelce, but they still got Jalen Hurts, who I think is decent, pretty good. They got Saquon Barkley now to get that offense, get that run game and passing game going. So it really relies on Jalen Hurts making those passes. They got that secondary is really good. They got Bradbury, of course, and Mailata, Jimmy Graham, not Jimmy Graham. God, what's his name? Brandon Graham. They got playmakers on both sides, both the units. So really, all they're just, and obviously they play in the NFC East with the Giants and Commanders. That's 4 wins easily. Let's be real here. Unless Commanders can do something crazy, but yeah. They got a favorable schedule, so give me the Eagles at 13-4 and a 2nd seed overall. Final division in the NFC, you got the NFC North. The most excited people were for the NFC North, but we're gonna start with the Vikings at 6-11. I don't think Jason McCartney is gonna elevate your team, but I think Justin Jefferson is gonna get you a lot of wins by himself because he's just that damn good. But the problem is he's just not going to have a quarterback. He's struggling in training camp. Now, training camp is not going to tell us a lot, but The Vikings offense, other than Justin Jefferson, what's Jordan Addison going to do? What's that defense without Danielle Hunter? I think it's going to be a kind of rebuilding year for the Vikings, sadly. And the Vikings will, in fact, finish dead last in the NFC North because all the teams above them got so much better this offseason, while the Vikings really, they didn't do much. They didn't do nothing, no breaking news, nothing headline-worthy, other than, obviously, Kirk Cousins leaving. So that's not good for your team. But 6-11, Vikings. Next up, we got the Bears. They will finish as the third best team and 7-10. I know a lot of people are excited for Caleb Williams. A lot and like the team he's got built around him. Way better support cast than Justin Fields ever got. Why do I have them at 7-10? This guy is a rookie quarterback. He's gonna have a lot of games where he will be the reason you win and he will be the reason you lose. A lot of growing pains. You have a lot of chemistry to get with. That's what happens when you have a new quarterback. That's why I never think a new quarterback is just going to light it up, because he just doesn't have he doesn't have the factor. If he's as good as people think he is, then he will. Like a CJ Stroud. That was rare. You just don't see that often. I think it's just going to be growing pains, and they have a very easy schedule. So we'll see what they can do. But I'm going to say they're going to underperform to a lot of people's expectations and give me the Bears at 7-10, which leaves the Packers at 7-10 as well. I know a lot of people have also believed in the Jordan Love train. I need a lot more sample size to see that. Don't forget, this guy was like 3-6 when he first started, but he started cooking. He got a very, very favorable matchup against the Cowboys in the playoffs, and he won. He almost beat the 49ers. I think that was a really good chance to win, but he didn't come on top. I think the Packers have I think they do have a harder schedule than last season. That's probably debatable, but I think their schedule is much tougher. And someone in this conference has to fall. Someone is going to take that step down. I think the Packers are going to go 7-10 and barely miss the playoffs because someone's got to do it, man. So I got the Packers as the 9th seed, 7-10. I really like the cast behind Jordan Love. I just need to see more to believe in it. So it just need a bigger sample size. For example, like CJ Stroud wasn't. He was good all season. Jordan Love had a very bad slump at the start. So I just got to see some more consistency to believe in them. So listen, Packers 7-10. I know it's hard for you guys to believe. Teams actually take a step down. It's crazy, right? Teams that were in the playoffs don't make it the next year. It just happens. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Packers. This is probably one of my highest takes of my predictions. So hopefully you guys aren't too pissed about that. Okay. Lions, 1 seed in the NFC North, 3rd seed overall, 11-6. I think they are the team still to be in the NFC North. They've proven that last year. They're a Super Bowl contender. Let's be real. They could possibly go to the Super Bowl this year as long as they can get past the 49ers and actually not go for it on 4th down or kick a damn field goal. Or Dan Campbell. He's the reason they lost that playoff game, but he's also the reason they got us there. He got us. He got them there. I mean, everyone's a Lions fan, let's be real, but I got the Lions at 11-6. They should be good. They lost nobody. I'm not concerned about anything. Maybe the defense, but they've had some playmakers who decide to be stars, like Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. So hopefully they keep that going and win the NFC North in back-to-back years. All right, time for AFC, and my God, do I have some controversial takes. But obviously, this is the best conference, so those things will happen. So here we go. We're starting with the AFC South here. I have the Colts at 4-13. Now, a lot of people are probably like, yo, the Colts went like 9-8 last year with Gardner Minshew. Why are they going 4-13? So the thing was, Anthony Richardson played 5 games and got injured instantly, missed the season. Gardner Minshew steps in. He starts winning, goes on like a win streak for his team, and they play good teams. They get blown out of the water. But they got 9 wins, maybe even 10 against the Browns. If you guys remember that Browns-Colts game, they got like an absolute disgusting call against them, and the Browns ended up winning that because I'm not sure why. That call was bad. But anyways, I think the Colts are as good as your quarterback. Anthony Richards still technically going to be in his rookie year, starting the season. He literally hasn't even finished the amount of games for a rookie season. So he's going to have growing pains. I think the Colts year, that really screams like all the stars aligned. And all the stars are going to align for one or two NFL teams. You know, it happens every season. I don't think it's going to happen with these guys. Lightning does not strike twice in the same place. And I think they're just going to have a little bit of a downfall. Pittman went crazy that year. That was his first really good season in a while. Zach Moss, really good substitute for Jonathan Taylor. But I think it's just things are just going to start falling apart for the Colts. So hopefully you guys respect that pick. And I don't know. A lot of people said this team is going to be really exciting. They didn't really do anything in the offseason to make them that exciting to watch. So I got the Colts 4-13. Moving on with the Tennessee Titans, I think is one of the most underrated teams this season. I have them at 9-8. They're my pick for a really dark horse. I put the Texans last year. Look what happened. C.J. Stroud elevated his team to the playoffs, and they got even a fucking playoff win. That's crazy. But the Tennessee Titans are mine this year because people are underestimating this team. Let's talk about the defense. You got L'Jarius Sneed. They add Jamal Adams, who isn't a superstar anymore, but he's definitely a household name. Everybody know about. He's the best in the nation. But you got Will Levis. We'll see how far they go with him. They added Tyler Boyd to that team. They still got DeAndre Hopkins. They got Tony Pollard now. That offense is going to be really good. I think they did a really good job for getting rid of Derrick Henry and how they restructured their team already. And they got rid of Mike Vrabel. So we'll see. But I think this team can contend with the best teams in the AFC South. I think they'll just fall short because these teams are better than them, but they can definitely compete with them, and they might be able to compete with the conference. Who knows? But, yeah, my hot take, this team is going to be very good. Everybody is counting them out. Everybody's marking a win when they see that logo with their favorite team. But I say they go 9-8. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, also at 9-8. This team hasn't really done anything in the offseason other than grab Mac Jones. They got they got Calvin Ridley. I know there was a receiver who they just grabbed. I think it's Gabe Davis. They got Gabriel Davis. So they got a couple players on that offense. Trevor Lawrence went down obviously when they were 8-3. I don't think they'll get to 8-3, but I think they will finish the year about the same. Trevor Lawrence is kind of just an average quarterback for me. And that's why they finished as the 8th seed. I think they just won't compete for the playoffs. I got the hiccups, sorry. I just don't think they have enough to be a playoff team. But they are certainly on the bubble. I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs. But again, there's obviously one team that's way better in this division. They're just not. They don't compete with the best teams in the AFC. They just don't, especially roster-wise and everything else. Travis Etienne is good, just not enough for me. You can't convince me this team is going to be crazy good. You know what I mean? We'll see. Again, but of course you got the Texans. I have him at 13-4. This team is stacked, dude. They got Stephon Diggs. They got Nico Collins. They got Tank Dell, that is a three-headed monster. Not to mention C.J. Stroud doing that. Joe Mixon doing it for them in the backfield. Will Anderson was really good for that defense. They had even more pieces. It's so hard to even comprehend how good this team got. And this team might be a Super Bowl contender. Like, for the Jets, they were missing a quarterback. And he joins the team. He gets injured. Growing pains. This guy has already proved that their quarterback is worthy. And now they just added, in my opinion, upgraded at everything on that offense and got some defensive pieces. This team is going to be disgusting. Oh, not to mention Dalton Schultz, the fucking tight end. Like, they just have pieces everywhere who are good. Larry Tunsil, like, they have a good O-line. Like, there's just nothing to complain about. So, is the rookie season a fluke? That is going to be the question of the Texans this year. Was everything a fluke about Stroud, or is he going to show up and go 13-4? I think he can do it. Third seed for them in the conference. They make the playoffs, obviously, and top everyone in the AFC South. Next up, of course, we got the NFC West with the Broncos finishing 3-14. I don't think this is too surprising for everyone. Obviously, they got, other than Pat Surtain, PS2, they have nobody. Maybe Cortland Sutton's decent. They got Bo Nix now. They got rid of Jerry Jeudy. The team just kind of fell apart. They're old. Other than, like, a few people are probably a little bit past their prime, but they're still good. But you just have no roster. You just got no crazy playmakers other than one person on the defensive side. So I think this is going to be a rebuilding year, especially in the AFC West. You're going to get swept by the Chiefs. It's just going to happen. And I think no one else is going to complain about this record. 3-14 for the Broncos. Next up, we got the Chargers. They got John Harbaugh, but they got no help for Justin Herbert. Quentin Johnson still dropping passes in training camp to this day. He probably couldn't catch COVID in Wuhan, China if he tried. Like, it's just who is Justin Herbert going to throw to? They got rid of Austin Eckler, so they got a new coach, a new running back. Their defense is depleted. It's still a very bad defense. They didn't upgrade anything in defense. It's like okay, let's not. Harbaugh is good. Jim Harbaugh is great. Am I saying that? Is it John or Jim? Harbaugh is good, okay? But is he good enough to help Justin Herbert get these wins? Is he good enough to help this very just underachieving roster achieve more? We'll see, but I gotta see it to believe it. Give me 5-12 for the Chargers. Probably a little bit of a hot take, but I got the Raiders at 8-9. They were in problems just like a few years ago. A lot of turmoil with this franchise, but they did it, bro. With their intern head coach, they won games. They embarrassed the Chiefs on Christmas. They embarrassed the Chargers that won, I want to say, Thursday night game. The first game without Justin Herbert. What was it, like 63-21? Absolutely disgusting. They have playmakers on defense, like Max Crosby and Jones, but they also have Tay Adams. Like, I think this is the roster that you look at and you're like, yeah, this is the second best team in the AFC West. That can probably compete with the Chiefs. I mean, we saw it on Christmas. Hey, we'll see what they do after they release that Kermit the Frog video during training camp. We'll see what the Chiefs do to them. But I do think the Raiders can possibly win a game against the Chiefs. Maybe not this year, but they can. They're going to compete with them more than the other two teams in the West. And so I got them at 8-9 with the 10th seed in the AFC. But obviously, it's going to be a cakewalk for the Chiefs. 12-5. That is 4 games more than the Raiders, who are in second place. but the Chiefs will have a 4th seed. I think every team is just going to struggle. I don't think they're going to go crazy like 2 years ago. They struggled last year. They couldn't find anyone who could catch the ball. But their schedule got a lot tougher. So I think we have to kind of translate it to one more win or one less win. So I got the Chiefs at 12-5 here. They're probably going to lose games to good teams, not like mid teams like last year. But still, 12-5. They make the playoffs. We'll see what they do in the playoffs for that 3-peat. I really don't want them to 3-peat. Please don't 3-peat, Chiefs, please. All right, nothing else to talk about there. AFC East, second last division of the video. Patriots, simple as this. They got Drake May. They have a new head coach. Bill Belichick's gone. Matthew Judon, way past his prime. Way too old for this game. The roster, Christian Gonzalez got hurt early last year, so you can really see what he could do for the whole season. Excited for that, but this team's not going to win a lot of games. Give me 2-15 and give me the Patriots having the number 1 pick in that draft next year. You heard it here first. But obviously, we have 3 more teams competing in the AFC East. So who do I have in 3rd place? And this might be the hottest take of the video. I have the Bills at 7-10. A lot of people say that offense is not going to look any different, but they lost not just their number 1 receiver in Stephon Diggs, but their number 2 receiver. I know Stephon Diggs didn't do a lot last year, especially at the end to help them win those playoff games. They got James Cook. Is James Cook going to cook like that again? No pun intended. Gabe Davis, who did they rely on to do that? Gabe Davis had a couple touchdowns in the late season, and now they lost him. So they have new pieces. Josh Allen has a little bit of help at tight end, so they're probably going to be targeting tight end a lot. Okay, so the Bills at their best, right? They had Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and just all the pieces together. And they said they were Super Bowl contenders. And you're going to tell me they're going to lose their wide receiver 1 and 2, get rid of half of their defense in the offseason, like basically clear house on the defense. And you're going to tell me this team is better? You're going to tell me this team is still not going to choke or do something stupid? I'm not a hater. I don't hate the Bills, but is Josh Allen really going to do that? Especially in overtime games, like he's 0-8 in overtime, and with your right receiver 1 and 2 gone, and you're not blowing teams out, you might have a couple overtime games. Do you trust this guy in overtime? I don't. So, listen, I'm not saying every game's going to be overtime, but sometimes you do have overtime games, especially the Bills in this case. Good God, and he's not performed. He's not got a single overtime win. So, they're just not clutch enough. I don't think they have enough to compete in the AFC. Like, losing 1 or 2 receivers, you have no idea how detrimental that is to a team in the AFC, a team that's competing for a chip. And I think we're going to see that. This is going to be like a Bill O'Brien, like Texans thing when they lost DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think they're going to be that good. I think a lot of people are just choking on that copium. They're inhaling that shit. I'm sorry. I don't think the Bills can compete with the rest of the AFC. That's just my opinion. 7-10, a down year for the Bills. Second seed, we got the Dolphins of Miami, 12-5. They have what don't they have other than I would say a elite quarterback. They just paid him in the offseason, though, so we'll see how that goes. You got Tyreek Hill. You got Jalen Waddle. You got Odell Beckham now, who's going to be a wide receiver 3. That's not a bad trio. Odell Beckham is past his prime, but hey, that's a decent guy for your wide receiver 3, in my opinion. You got Xavier Howard on defense. You got Jalen Ramsey. You got Javon Holland. Those are just the quarterbacks and safeties. Like, those are just the secondary. You got some playmakers. on that front seven and back. Like, I don't know. I think they just have a pretty complete roster, and people aren't giving them credit because the quarterback is kind of sus sometimes. But I think that's enough to get the job done. So give me 12-5 for the Dolphins. Yeah, I think they're just gonna score a bunch of points, way more points than their opposite team a bunch of times in the season. Like, how crazy is that? I think they'll go 12-5. They definitely have to adjust to December, and I think that's where they lose like 2 or 3 of their games. So they got adjusted December. That's the only thing stopping this team, and I think they can compete in the playoffs. But we'll see. But I do have the number one team being the Jets. I said this last year. Aaron Rodgers went down in 3 plays. Very unfortunate. So people are thinking, is he fragile now? Well, listen, this guy had back-to-back MVPs the year before he left the Packers, and then he went to the Jets. Like, it's not his fault he got injured. It sucks. It might be because he's old, but I'm going to take that chance. This team is more than enough to complete. Might be the most complete roster in the NFL, you could argue. Their offensive line got better. Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I love Garrett Wilson. I love their offense. I love, obviously, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Reed. Like, not Jalen Reed, DJ Reed. Like, they have the team to do it. So can they? Like, I'm so excited to watch the Jets next year, and I think they will win the AFC East as long as Aaron Rodgers is standing up by week 18. So 13-4 for the Jets, and now we get into probably the hardest division to rank in the NFL, in football in general, the AFC North. I have the Steelers. I'm probably underestimating this, but I'm gonna have to put them 8-9. First losing record for Mike Tomlin. I say this every year, but it's got to happen, man. It's got to happen. At least in your last few years with the Steelers, it's probably going to happen. Especially with that schedule. Jesus Christ, man. Did you see the Steelers' schedule? Not great. Russell Wilson, new quarterback. Lost Deontay Johnson. So George Pickens going to be that guy for them. Like I said, I think they're a great team. I think they could be like the number 1 seed in the NFC South if they play in the NFC South. They're just in the AFC North. So, like, I feel like I'd be disrespecting the Browns and the Ravens if I put them above. Like, I'm sorry. I just think the Steelers are... They're so due. TJ Watt is going to be a reason you win some of these games. Russell Wilson might come back to play. George Pickens might be a reason you win games. You got the defense. You have a decent offense. But is it enough in the AFC North? The Browns, like, you just can't argue about the Browns other than Deshaun Watson. Like, their roster is amazing. They had the number 1 defense last year. So what do I do? So how do you rank the Steelers? Like, they probably have the weakest roster in the AFC North as well. Like, it's so hard. I know I'm underestimating them, okay? But I have them at 4th. Don't be so mad. Moving on. I got the Browns. I think, like, listen, they have the roster to do it. It's just Deshaun Watson. Even without Deshaun Watson, they had Joe Flacco, and they still got the 5th seed. Joe Flacco played way better than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson just has to play decent, and they'll probably make the playoffs. Like, I just could not put the Browns below the Steelers, especially what the Browns did last year. You could switch them. I think this is the Ravens and Bengals division to lose, but you can't trust the Browns enough to elevate their game to go any higher than the 5th seed. So I got them at 7th seed. They have the team to make the playoffs. Like, they're kind of like the Cowboys, honestly. And it's kind of funny that they both play in week 1, but they're kind of the Cowboys of this division. Like, they're gonna be good enough to contend, possibly make the playoffs, but they can't do much right after that. So we'll see. A lot of we'll see, but that's how it is when you're a fan of the Browns. All right. Next up, you got the Ravens, 13-4. I do have the Ravens in 2nd place. I do think it is It's interchangeable for them. They got Derrick Henry. There's not much else you can say. They got Lamar Jackson. This offense is going to be amazing. But a lot of people are concerned with the offensive line, which might be the weakest in the division at this point. So I think that's where they're going to falter. They're still going to go 13-4, but I saved the 1 seed for last. The Cincinnati Bengals. I am a fan of this team, guys. I know I'm biased. I said this last year they were going to go 14-3, but Joe Burrow got injured. As long as Joe Burrow doesn't get injured, he didn't get injured in July, so that's good already because he did that last year. But you can't convince me this team wasn't going to go insane. Because when we saw Joe Burrow finally get healthy, the 49ers and Bills got decimated. Close game with the Texans, and the Texans were a playoff team last year. This team is very good when they're firing on all cylinders. This team is amazing when they have a healthy Burrow with 2 legs who can run and actually escape the pocket and actually move in the pocket. This team is going to compete. I'm sick and tired of the Joe Burrow's injury prone. If this guy is here in Week 18, this team is the 1 seed. They're going 14-3, and they are potentially going to be your Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl champion, whatever you want to see, whatever you want to call it. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to prove the haters wrong. I'm excited to watch the Bengals this year. They didn't lose anyone but Tyler Boyd, and their wide receiver 3 got a pretty decent substitute and replacement for him for the future. The O-line is extremely significantly better with Trent Brown, Orlando Brown, Amarius Mims. They built a mountain behind Burrow. I'm so excited to watch this guy play with a great O-line. They made a good substitute in Mixon with Zach Moss, who went crazy with the Colts last year. Other than that, that's the only thing I'm concerned about. We got Mike Gesicki. He was really good with the Dolphins. He's probably past his prime, but he's definitely the best tight end. It's the best offensive line that Burrow's had. This is one of the best rosters Burrow's had, and I can't wait to see, bro. It's going to be fireworks. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below of your favorite team, whatever team you guys want to make a prediction of. Let me know your predictions in the comments. And good luck to everyone's favorite team this year, except the Chiefs. Please don't repeat. Please don't repeat. That's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hakuna Matata.